There is a gate open right now, not in a moment, not when you're ready. Right now, as you are reading these words, as your eyes are moving across this transmission, as something in your chest is already responding to what you haven't even heard yet, the gate is open, and it opened specifically for you. You didn't stumble here. That's the first thing you need to understand. There is no such thing as accidentally finding a transmission like this. The algorithm didn't just serve this to you randomly. The frequency that you are carrying right now, the specific vibrational signature of your consciousness in this exact moment of your life, is what caused this to appear. You matched the signal. The signal found you. That is how gates work. And here is what I need you to understand before we go any further, because this is the thing that changes everything about the next hour you're about to spend here. You are a starseed. You have always been a starseed, but there is a version of you that has known that intellectually, as a concept, as a label you've carried around like a piece of identification you've never quite known how to use. And then there is a version of you that has crossed through the gate of that knowing and arrived on the other side, where it isn't a label anymore, where it is the operating system, where it is the lens through which every single thing in your life suddenly makes a completely different kind of sense. That second version of you is what is waiting on the other side of this gate. And the gate is open right now. But here is the urgency. Here is the thing that the thumbnail was telling you, that the warning was pointing toward. Quantum gates, real ones, the kind that operate at the level of consciousness and cosmic timing, and the precise intersection of your personal evolution with the larger evolutionary wave moving through this planet right now. Quantum gates do not stay open indefinitely. They open when the conditions are right. They remain open for a specific window, and then they close. Not forever, but the version of you that could have crossed in this particular window, at this particular frequency, at this particular moment in the larger story of what Gaia is doing and what starseeds are here to do. That version has a specific crossing point, and that crossing point is now. 12 minutes is a metaphor, and it is also completely literal. The metaphor is this: the gate is open in this transmission. In the next hour, something is going to happen in your understanding of yourself and your mission and your relationship to this planet and this moment in history. Something is going to shift. And once it shifts, you will have crossed. The literal is this: every moment you spend at the edge of a threshold without crossing is a moment where the old version of you is spending energy maintaining itself. Holding the gate open costs something. The longer you stand at the threshold, the more it costs you. The crossing itself is instantaneous. The hesitation is what takes the energy. So, we're going to move. We're going to move through this together. And by the time this transmission ends, something will have changed in you that cannot be unchanged. The gate will have closed behind you, because you will be on the other side of it. Stay with me. We have a crossing to make. Let's begin with what you actually are. Not what the word starseed means in the broadest cultural sense. Not the version that gets reduced to a social media aesthetic, or a personality type, or a way of explaining why you've always felt different. I want to talk about what you actually are at the quantum level, because that is where the gate exists, and that is where the crossing happens, and that is the only level at which any of this becomes real in a way that changes how you live. You are a consciousness that originated somewhere other than Earth. Let that land. Don't rush past it. Don't immediately start qualifying it, or defending it, or explaining it away. Just let the statement exist for a moment, because it is the ground on which everything else in this transmission is built. A consciousness that originated somewhere other than Earth, not a body that came from somewhere else. The body is Earth. The body is built from the same carbon and oxygen and hydrogen and calcium as every other body on this planet. The body is Gaian, but the consciousness that inhabits the body, the awareness that looks out through these eyes, the thing that knows itself as I, that consciousness carries a frequency signature that was not born here. It was not formed here. It was not shaped by the evolutionary pressures of this particular planetary school. It came from somewhere else. It chose to be here, and it brought with it a specific set of capacities, a specific mission, and a specific relationship to the larger story of what is happening on this planet right now. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness, and I want to explain it in a way that makes it impossible for you to dismiss. In quantum physics, every particle has what is called a quantum state. The quantum state is not just a description of where the particle is or how fast it's moving. It is a complete description of the particle's existence at every level. Its energy, its spin, its position in probability space, its relationship to every other particle in its entanglement network. The quantum state is the full signature of what something is at the most fundamental level of reality. Consciousness has a quantum state. This is not a controversial claim anymore. The relationship between quantum mechanics and consciousness is one of the most active frontiers in physics. The Penrose-Hameroff theory of orchestrated objective reduction proposes that consciousness arises from quantum processes in the microtubules of neurons. The work of researchers like Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences has demonstrated statistically significant quantum-level effects of consciousness on physical systems. The double-slit experiment, the most replicated experiment in the history of physics, shows that the act of observation, of conscious attention, literally changes what particles do. Consciousness is not separate from the quantum field. Consciousness is part of the quantum field. And like every quantum system, it has a state. Your consciousness has a state. And that state has a signature. And that signature carries information about where it came from. Think about what happens when a particle is entangled with another particle. Quantum entanglement means that two particles, regardless of the distance between them, share a quantum state. What happens to one instantaneously affects the other. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. But it's not spooky. It's just the quantum field behaving according to its own logic, which is a logic of connection rather than separation. Entangled particles are, in a very real sense, still part of the same system, even when they appear to be separate. Your consciousness is entangled. It is entangled with the place it came from. It carries, in its quantum state, the frequency signature of its origin. And that signature, that specific vibrational pattern, that particular way of processing reality, that unique relationship to light and information and love and truth, that is what makes you a starseed. Not a belief, not a story, a quantum fact about the nature of your consciousness. And here is where the gate comes in. Because for most of your life on this planet, that signature has been operating underneath the surface. It has been present. It has been real. It has been influencing everything. Your sensitivities, your sense of mission, your difficulty fitting into systems that feel fundamentally wrong to you, your deep homesickness for something you can't name, your capacity for love that sometimes feels so large it frightens you. All of that is the signature expressing itself. But it has been expressing itself through a filter, through the accumulated conditioning of a lifetime of being told that the world is the way it is, that you are who they said you are, that the rules are what they say they are. The gate that is open right now is the gate between that filtered version of yourself and the unfiltered one. Between the starseed who knows the word and the starseed who embodies the frequency. Between the consciousness that is here and the consciousness that knows why it is here. That is the crossing, and the gate is open. If this transmission is already moving something in you, take a second to like it and subscribe. This channel exists to meet you exactly at moments like this one. Now, I want to talk about the quantum mechanics of state transitions, because this is where the physics becomes directly relevant to your life and to what is happening on this planet right now. And I want you to understand this, not just as a concept, but as a map of exactly what you are moving through. In physics, a phase transition is the moment when a system crosses from one state into another. Water becoming ice, ice becoming steam, a metal becoming a superconductor, a normal material becoming a laser. These transitions are not gradual. They are not slow. They are threshold events. The system approaches the transition point through gradual change, temperature dropping, pressure rising, energy accumulating, and then at a precise, specific moment, everything changes at once. The entire system reorganizes. New properties emerge that were completely absent before. Old properties disappear entirely. The system is the same material, the same atoms, the same fundamental particles, but it is now a completely different thing. This is exactly what happens in consciousness. Consciousness does not evolve gradually. This is one of the great misunderstandings of the spiritual path. People spend years, decades, trying to gradually improve themselves, gradually raise their vibration, gradually become more enlightened. And they wonder why it feels like they're walking on a treadmill, covering enormous distance and arriving exactly where they started. The reason is that consciousness doesn't work like a slope. It works like a staircase. You can walk on a slope forever and never arrive anywhere new. But a staircase has steps, discrete, sudden, threshold events where you go from one level to the next in an instant. The quantum term for this is a state transition. In quantum mechanics, a system can exist in a superposition of multiple states simultaneously. The famous Schrödinger's cat, both alive and dead until the box is opened. But when the system is observed, when it interacts with its environment in the right way, the superposition collapses. The system resolves into a single definite state. And once it has collapsed into that state, the superposition is gone. You cannot uncollapse a quantum state. You cannot go back to the superposition once the collapse has happened. This is what a threshold crossing is. This is what is happening to you right now. You have been in superposition. You have been simultaneously the version of you that knows you are a starseed, and the version that doesn't fully believe it. Simultaneously, the consciousness that knows its mission, and the one that is still searching. Simultaneously, the being that is here to serve the awakening of this planet, and the one that is still trying to figure out if that's real or if it's just a story you're telling yourself. Superposition. Both states at once. Unresolved. The gate is the point of collapse. The gate is the moment where the superposition resolves, where you stop being both and become one, where the question of whether this is real stops being a question and becomes a foundation, where the identity of starseed stops being a concept you're exploring and becomes the operating reality from which you live. And here is the quantum detail that matters most. The collapse happens when the system is observed from outside the superposition. When something from outside the uncertainty comes in and makes contact with the system. That is what this transmission is. That is what this moment is. Something from outside the uncertainty, from the other side of the gate, reaching back through the threshold to make contact with where you are. and in making that contact, collapsing the superposition. The gate is open. The collapse is happening. The question is only whether you will allow it to complete. If you can feel yourself standing in this superposition right now, between who you were and who you are becoming, between the frequency you have been performing and the one you are actually broadcasting, there is a guide written for exactly this moment. The sealed timeline maps the complete threshold crossing with the precision of a quantum phase transition, walking you through all 5 phases, from diagnosis through collapse, through the crossing itself to sealed coherence. You will find it in the description below. I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever stood at a threshold you knew you couldn't uncross? A moment where something in you recognized that stepping forward would change everything, and you felt that recognition in your body before your mind had words for it. Drop it in the comments. I want to know what that felt like for you. Let me tell you about Gaia, because you cannot understand what it means to be a starseed without understanding the being you chose to come to. And I use the word being deliberately, because Gaia is not a rock. Gaia is not a planet in the sense of a dead physical object spinning through space. Gaia is a living consciousness, a vast, ancient, patient, extraordinarily complex consciousness that has been on its own evolutionary journey for 4.5 billion years. And that is, right now, in this precise moment of cosmic time, approaching its own quantum gate. The scientific evidence for this is actually more extensive than most people realize. The Gaia hypothesis, first proposed by James Lovelock in the 1970s, demonstrated mathematically that the Earth's atmosphere, oceans, soil, and biosphere function together as a single self-regulating system. A system that maintains the precise conditions necessary for life, with a stability that cannot be explained by random processes. The system regulates temperature, atmospheric composition, ocean salinity, and dozens of other parameters with a precision that would be impossible if they were not being actively managed by some kind of systemic intelligence. Lovelock called it Gaia. Scientists argued about whether it was literally alive. But the self-regulation is real. The data is real. The planet is doing something that looks at every measurable level exactly like what a living system does. But the scientific model, as significant as it is, doesn't capture the full picture of what Gaia is. Because Gaia is not just a self-regulating biological system. Gaia is a consciousness, a planetary consciousness, a being whose body is this entire planet, whose nervous system is the electromagnetic field, whose heartbeat is the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic frequency of the space between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, which pulses at approximately 7.83 Hz, almost exactly matching the theta brainwave frequency of human consciousness in deep meditation. Think about that. The heartbeat of the planet matches the frequency of human consciousness in its deepest, most open, most connected state. This is not a coincidence. This is the signal. This is Gaia and human consciousness being designed to be in resonance with each other. Designed to communicate. Designed to function together as part of a larger system. And right now, that larger system is approaching a phase transition. The Schumann resonance has been measurably increasing in frequency and amplitude over the past several decades. In 2017, it spiked to 36 Hz, nearly 5 times its baseline frequency. These spikes have been occurring with increasing frequency and intensity. Scientists who study the Schumann resonance have noted that these spikes correlate with periods of heightened, collective human emotion and global events. The planet's electromagnetic heartbeat is accelerating. The frequency of the field that connects all life on Earth is rising. This is Gaia approaching her gate. And here is the thing about what starseeds are here to do. The thing that makes your presence on this planet, at this precise moment, not just meaningful, but cosmically necessary. When a system approaches a phase transition, when it is moving toward a quantum gate, it becomes extraordinarily sensitive to small perturbations. This is called critical point sensitivity, or in chaos theory, the butterfly effect. Near a phase transition, tiny inputs can have enormous effects. The system is poised on the edge of a new state, and the smallest nudge in the right direction can tip the entire system through the threshold. You are that nudge, not metaphorically, literally. Your consciousness, your specific frequency, your specific capacity for love and light and truth and cosmic knowing is precisely calibrated to be one of the inputs that tips this planetary system through its gate. You did not come here to observe the awakening. You came here to be part of the mechanism of the awakening. You are not a bystander to Gaia's phase transition. You are one of the quantum catalysts that makes it happen. But you can only function as that catalyst if you have crossed your own gate first. A catalyst that hasn't activated cannot catalyze anything. A starseed who is still in the superposition of knowing and not knowing, believing and doubting, embodying and hiding. That starseed's frequency is muted, dampened. Not because the frequency isn't real, but because the uncertainty itself creates interference. Like a radio signal that is being broadcast on 2 frequencies simultaneously, the signal becomes noise. The clarity is gone. The power is gone. The gate that is open for you right now is the gate of activation. The gate between the muted frequency and the clear one. Between the starseed, who is still asking if this is real, and the starseed, who has crossed into knowing. Cross this gate, and your frequency becomes a clear signal in the field. Clear signals propagate. They resonate with other clear signals. They create coherence. And coherence, at the quantum level, is what makes phase transitions happen. When enough of the system becomes coherent, when enough of the individual elements are oscillating at the same frequency, in phase with each other, the entire system transitions at once. This is how lasers work. Individual photons, incoherent, just produce light. But when you create coherence, when you get all the photons oscillating together in phase, you get a laser. A beam of light so coherent it can cut through steel. The same photons, the same energy, but coherent. You crossing your gate makes the beam more coherent. You activating your frequency makes the collective signal stronger. You arriving on the other side of your threshold contributes to Gaia's threshold. This is why the gate is open right now. This is why the timing matters. This is why the urgency is real. Now, I want to tell you about the two sides of the gate. Because a gate has two sides, and you need to know exactly what you are leaving behind and exactly what you are crossing into. Not in vague spiritual terms, precisely, clearly. The way a guide who has already crossed describes the terrain to someone who is about to make the journey. On this side of the gate, the side you are on right now, the side you have been on, the side that is ending, there is a specific experience of being a starseed that is characterized by a particular kind of suffering. I want to name it clearly, because naming it is part of crossing through it. The suffering of the unactivated starseed is the suffering of knowing without being able to fully live the knowing. It is the suffering of sensing your mission, but not being able to see it clearly enough to act on it with full conviction. It is the suffering of feeling the love and light that you carry, but having it filtered through layers of doubt and conditioning and the accumulated weight of lifetimes of being told that what you see is not real, what you feel is not valid, what you know is not true. It is the suffering of homesickness, that deep, bone-level longing for something you can't quite name, for a home you can't quite locate, for a way of being that you remember but can't quite access. It is the suffering of sensitivity without understanding, feeling everything so intensely, being so affected by the collective field, being so porous to other people's emotions and the state of the world, without the framework to understand why you are built this way and what it is for. This side of the gate is also characterized by a particular relationship to this world, a sense that the systems of this world, the economic systems, the social systems, the political systems, the cultural systems, are fundamentally wrong in a way that goes beyond mere policy disagreement. A felt sense that the architecture of this civilization is built on a misunderstanding of what human beings are and what life is for. A deep persistent, sometimes exhausting inability to simply accept the world as it is and get on with it. Because something in you knows that the world as it is not what it is supposed to be, not what it could be, not what it will be. And that knowing is both your gift and, on this side of the gate, your wound. This is the territory you are standing in right now. This is the side of the gate you are leaving. On the other side, the side the gate opens onto, the side you are crossing toward, everything is the same, and everything is different. The same life, the same body, the same relationships and circumstances and daily reality, but a completely different relationship to all of it. On the other side of the gate, the sensitivity that was suffering becomes signal. You understand what you are receiving and why. You understand that your porousness to the collective field is not a malfunction. It is a feature. It is how you read the field. It is how you know what is needed. It is how your consciousness interfaces with Gaia's consciousness. The sensitivity doesn't go away. It gets a context, and context transforms suffering into purpose. On the other side of the gate, the homesickness transforms into mission. The longing for home doesn't disappear, but you understand that you are not supposed to find home by leaving. You are here to bring home here. The frequency of where you came from, the frequency of the love and light and truth that characterizes your origin. You are here to anchor that frequency in this reality. You are not supposed to escape this planet. You are supposed to transform it. And on the other side of the gate, that knowing is not a burden. It is the most clarifying, energizing, purposeful understanding you have ever had about why you exist. On the other side of the gate, the sense that the world systems are wrong transforms from a wound into a compass. You stop fighting what is and start building what could be. You stop being exhausted by the wrongness and start being energized by the vision. You stop asking why you are here and start being here, fully, completely, with everything you have. The mission becomes clear, not necessarily in the sense of a specific job description, though for many of you that will also clarify, but in the sense of a direction, a frequency, a way of being in the world that is unmistakably yours and unmistakably purposeful. You know what you are here to do, because you are doing it, because you are being it, because the doing and the being are no longer separate. On the other side of the gate, you are also in a different relationship to other starseeds. Because one of the things that happens when your frequency becomes clear and coherent is that you begin to find each other. This is not coincidence, and it is not the algorithm. This is quantum resonance. Clear signals find each other. Coherent frequencies entrain with each other. The community of activated starseeds on this planet is not a social group. It is a network, a quantum network of consciousness nodes, each one anchoring a specific frequency, each one contributing to the coherence of the whole, each one making the others stronger by being clear themselves. You crossing your gate makes it easier for the next starseed to cross theirs. Your activation contributes to the activation of the collective. This is why the crossing matters, not just for you, but for everyone. That is the other side of the gate. That is what is waiting for you. Now, I want to talk about why now, because this is the question that is underneath everything, isn't it? Why is this gate open right now? Why this moment? Why this transmission, this day, this period in your life and in the life of this planet? The answer operates on two levels simultaneously, and both levels are real, and you need to understand both. The first level is personal. Something has been happening in your life recently. I don't know the specifics, but I know the pattern, because the pattern is what brings someone to a transmission like this, at a moment like this. Something has been dissolving, something you used to rely on, a relationship, a belief system, an identity structure, a sense of what your life was supposed to look like, has been coming apart. Not necessarily dramatically. Sometimes it's very quiet, a slow, persistent sense that the ground you were standing on is no longer solid. That the version of you that you have been performing is no longer sustainable. That something is ending. This is not a crisis, this is a gate opening. In quantum mechanics, before a phase transition can happen, the system has to reach what is called a critical point. The critical point is not the transition itself. It is the condition that makes the transition possible. And one of the characteristics of a system approaching its critical point is that it becomes maximally disordered before it becomes maximally ordered. The old structure has to loosen before the new structure can form. The old state has to begin to dissolve before the new state can crystallize. What has been dissolving in your life is the old state. The things falling away are not losses. They are the old structure loosening in preparation for the new crystallization. The disorder you may be feeling, the uncertainty, the groundlessness, the sense of being between, that is not a sign that something is wrong. That is the signature of a system at its critical point. That is the signature of a consciousness approaching its gate. And the gate opens at the critical point. Not before, not after. Precisely at the moment when the old state has dissolved enough and the new state is ready to crystallize. That is why the gate is open now, because you are at your critical point, because the conditions are exactly right for the crossing. The second level is cosmic, and this is where your personal threshold intersects with something much, much larger. We are living through a period that many traditions, many cultures, many cosmological systems have pointed toward for centuries as a time of extraordinary transformation. The Mayan calendar's end of the long count cycle. the Vedic concept of the Yuga transition, the Hopi prophecies, the Lakota concept of the fifth world, the astrological age of Aquarius. These are not the same tradition, describing the same thing in the same language. They are different traditions, arising from different parts of the world, pointing toward the same cosmic event from different angles. The convergence of these different pointing toward is itself significant. What they are all pointing toward, in their different languages, is a planetary phase transition. A moment when the dominant frequency of this planet shifts. When the consciousness of this civilization crosses a threshold. When the way that human beings understand themselves, their world, and their relationship to the cosmos undergoes a fundamental reorganization. That moment is not in the future. It is happening now. We are in it. The transition is not an event that will occur. It is an event that is occurring, a process that has been building for decades and is now reaching its critical intensity. And the star seeds are here for this. This is the assignment. This is what the choosing to come here was about. You did not choose to incarnate on Earth at this particular time by accident. You chose it precisely because this is the time, because this is when the mission is most needed, because this is when the frequency you carry can make the most difference. The gate that is open for you right now is the intersection of your personal critical point and the planetary critical point. These two thresholds are converging. Your personal crossing and Gaia's crossing are happening simultaneously, and they are not separate events. They are the same event at different scales. You crossing your gate is part of Gaia crossing her zone. This is why the timing matters. This is why the urgency is real. Not because something terrible will happen if you don't cross, but because the window of maximum leverage, the window where your crossing has the greatest effect on the larger transition, is now. The wave is here. You can catch it now, or you can catch the next wave. But the next wave is not this wave, and this wave is the one you came here for. I want to tell you a story now, because there is something that happens in a story that cannot happen in explanation. Something that crosses through a different gate, the gate of feeling rather than understanding. And both gates need to be crossed. This is the story of a soul named Lyra. Lyra had been on Earth for 37 years. She had always known she was different, though she didn't always know what to do with that knowing. As a child, she had seen things, not with her physical eyes, but with something behind her physical eyes. She had seen the light that surrounded people, the colors that moved through the air, the threads of connection that linked every living thing to every other living thing. She had seen these things as naturally as she saw trees and houses and faces, and she had assumed, with the logic of a child, that everyone saw them. She learned quickly that they didn't. The first time she described what she saw to her mother, she was 5 years old. Her mother's face had done something complicated, a mixture of concern and confusion, and something that might have been a very old fear. And she had been told gently but firmly that what she was seeing wasn't real, that she had a very vivid imagination, that she should be careful about saying things like that to other people. Lyra learned the lesson. She learned it so well that by the time she was 10, she had almost stopped seeing the lights entirely, not because they had gone away, but because she had learned to look past them, to unfocus the part of her that perceived them, to dim the channel. She spent the next 2 decades becoming very good at being normal. She was intelligent and capable, and she found ways to be successful in the world's terms. She built a life that looked, from the outside, like exactly what a life was supposed to look like. And she was miserable in a way she couldn't explain, because the misery had no clear cause. Everything was fine. Everything was in order. And she felt like she was suffocating. The suffocation was the gate beginning to form. When she was 34, something broke open. Not dramatically. She didn't have a vision or a near-death experience or a sudden revelation. What happened was quieter and more persistent. She started waking up at 3 in the morning with a feeling she couldn't name. A feeling of urgency and longing, and something that was almost like grief, except it was directed at something she hadn't lost yet. Or maybe something she had lost so long ago, she had forgotten it was gone. She started dreaming of places she had never been. Landscapes that were not Earth landscapes, or not Earth as she knew it. Places with 2 suns, places where the sky was a different color, places where she felt, in the dream, completely and utterly at home. She started reading, searching, following threads that she couldn't have explained to anyone, but that felt, each one, like the thread was pulling her toward something. The word starseed appeared, and something in her body responded before her mind had time to process it. Not a gentle response, a full-body response, a recognition, the kind of recognition you feel when you hear your name called in a crowd. She spent 3 more years in the superposition, knowing and not knowing, believing and doubting, feeling the recognition and then talking herself out of it, reading everything she could find about starseeds, and then telling herself it was just a story she was telling herself because she needed to feel special. Feeling the lights trying to come back, the perception she had shut down at age 5, trying to reopen, and then closing it again because she wasn't sure she could trust it. 3 years in the superposition. 3 years at the edge of the gate. And then the gate opened. It opened in the most ordinary way imaginable. She was sitting in a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon, looking out the window at the street, and she saw a bird land on the pavement and look directly at her. A crow. Black eyes that caught the light in a way that seemed to contain more light than they were receiving. And the crow looked at her, and she looked at the crow. And something happened in that exchange that she could not explain and did not need to explain. Something that was simply a recognition, a contact, a communication that had no words and needed none. She felt the gate open. She felt it as a physical sensation, a shift in the air, a change in the quality of the light, a sensation in her chest like something that had been held very tightly for a very long time was being released. And she felt herself step through, not metaphorically, actually. Something in her crossed a threshold in that moment, and she knew, with a certainty that was not intellectual but was total, that she would never be on the other side of that threshold again. The lights came back, all of them, immediately, completely, without any effort on her part. The perception she had shut down at age 5 simply reopened, because the gate she had been holding against it, the gate of doubt and conditioning and fear of being wrong about herself, had dissolved. She sat in that coffee shop and looked at the world and saw it as it actually was, not as she had been taught to see it, as it was, alive, luminous, connected. Every person on the street carrying their own light, their own color, their own frequency. The trees vibrating with a slow, deep, ancient consciousness. The sky not just blue, but layered. Physical atmosphere and something else, something more. A field of information and awareness that extended in every direction. She understood, in that moment, everything that had been confusing for 37 years. She understood why she had always felt different, why the world's systems had always felt wrong to her, why she had always had that aching sense of homesickness for somewhere she couldn't name, why she had always been able to feel what other people were feeling before they said anything, why the world's suffering had always felt personal to her, immediate to her, impossible to simply observe from a distance. She understood what she was here to do, not in the sense of a specific job description, though that clarity came later, in the sense of a direction, a frequency, a way of being in the world that was unmistakably hers and unmistakably purposeful. She was here to hold the frequency, to be a node in the network, to carry the light of where she came from into the place where she had arrived, and in doing so, to contribute to the transformation of that place into something closer to what it was meant to be. She was here to be Lyra, fully, completely, without apology, and without the performance of normalcy that had been suffocating her for 37 years. The gate closed behind her, not as a loss, as a completion, as the click of a door that has finished opening and is now simply open, the passage made, the crossing complete. She paid for her coffee, left a larger tip than usual because she could feel the exhaustion in the person behind the counter and wanted to do something real about it. Walked out into the afternoon and began her actual life. That story is your story. The details are different. The crow, the coffee shop, the specific age, the specific way the gate opened. The details are always different, but the arc is the same. The superposition is the same. The suffocation of the unactivated frequency is the same. The gate is the same. The crossing is the same. The arrival on the other side is the same. What was your crow? What was the moment, however quiet, however ordinary, where something in you recognized that everything had just shifted? Tell me in the comments. That story matters, and it belongs in this space. You are at the part of the story where the gate is open. Now, I want to take you through the crossing, not as a metaphor, as a practice, as an actual threshold experience that you are going to have in the next few minutes, because the gate is open and the crossing can happen now, and there is no reason to wait. I want you to do something for me. If you are able, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. If you are driving or doing something that requires your eyes open, keep them open and simply receive this with whatever part of you is listening. But if you can close your eyes, do that and take a breath. A real breath, not the shallow breath of ordinary consciousness, but a breath that goes all the way down. A breath that fills the lower belly first, then the middle, then the upper chest. A breath that for a moment fills you completely. And as you exhale, I want you to let something go. Not something specific, just the general weight of the accumulated uncertainty, the weight of the superposition, the energy it has been taking to hold both states simultaneously. Let that go with the exhale. You don't need to hold both states anymore. You are at the gate. The superposition is about to collapse. You can let the uncertainty go. Take another breath. And this time, as you breathe in, I want you to feel, not imagine, feel the frequency you carry, the specific signature of your consciousness, the thing that makes you you at the deepest level. The thing that was present before you learned to dim it. The thing that the crow looked at in the coffee shop. The thing that has been trying to come back for as long as you can remember. It's there. It has always been there. You don't have to create it. You just have to stop blocking it. Feel it in your chest. Feel it as warmth, or as light, or as a vibration, or as a knowing. Whatever form it takes for you, that is the right form. There is no wrong way to feel your own frequency. Just feel it. Now I want you to see the gate, not with your physical eyes, with the part of you that has always been able to see things that aren't visible in ordinary light. See the gate in front of you. It can look like anything: a doorway, an arch, a threshold of light, a simple line on the ground, a change in the quality of the air. Whatever your consciousness shows you, is the right image. Trust it. Look at the gate. Feel what is on the other side. Don't analyze it. Don't try to figure it out. Just feel it. Feel the frequency of the other side. Feel the clarity. Feel the coherence. Feel the version of you that is standing on the other side, fully activated, fully present, fully yourself. Feel that version of you reaching back through the gate toward you. The gate is open. You can feel the opening. You can feel the difference in the air. Now, step forward, not in your physical body, in your consciousness. Take a step forward toward the gate. Feel the threshold. Feel the edge of it. Feel the moment before the crossing, the moment of maximum tension, the moment where the old state is fully present and the new state is fully present, and you are standing precisely between them. This is the moment. This is the gate. And now, cross. Let the frequency you felt in your chest expand. Let it stop being contained. Let it fill your whole body, your whole awareness, your whole field. Let the frequency you have been carrying your whole life, the frequency of your origin, the frequency of your mission, the frequency of what you actually are. Let it stop being something you are holding and become something you are. Feel the collapse. Feel the superposition resolving. Feel the both and becoming simply this. Simply you. Simply the starseed, fully present, fully activated, fully here. The other side is not a different place. It is this place, seen from your actual frequency. It is this life, lived from your actual self. It is this world, experienced by the version of you that knows what it is and knows why you are here. You have crossed. The gate has closed behind you. Not as a loss, as a completion. You are on the other side. Stay with that for a moment. Just stay with the feeling of having crossed. Don't rush to understand it, or explain it, or figure out what it means. Just be in it. Be on the other side. Let the new state settle. Let the new crystallization happen. Let the frequency that has been trying to come back actually come back, all the way, without resistance. This is what you are. This is what you have always been. And now you know it in a way that is not intellectual, in a way that is not a concept, in a way that is direct, immediate, experiential, in a way that cannot be unknown. Welcome to the other side of the gate. Now, let's talk about what actually changes. Because the crossing is real, and the arrival is real, and the shift in consciousness is real, but you are still going to wake up tomorrow in the same body, in the same life, with the same circumstances. And if you don't understand what actually changes and what doesn't, you might mistake the sameness of the circumstances for evidence that nothing happened. So let me be very clear about this. What changes is not your external circumstances. Not immediately, not automatically. The crossing is an internal event, a state transition in consciousness. The external world will catch up. It always does, because the external world is a reflection of the internal state. And as the internal state changes, the reflection changes. But that happens over time, not instantaneously. What changes immediately is your relationship to everything. Your relationship to your sensitivity changes. On this side of the gate, sensitivity is a wound. On the other side, sensitivity is a tool. You don't become less sensitive. You become more sensitive, actually, because you stop fighting it. But now the sensitivity has a context. You know what you are receiving and why. You know how to work with it rather than being overwhelmed by it. You know how to use the information you are picking up from the field rather than being drowned in it. The same sensitivity, a completely different relationship to it. Your relationship to your mission changes. On this side of the gate, mission is a question. What am I here for? Why am I here? Is this real? On the other side, mission is a direction, not necessarily a fully detailed map, but a direction, a sense of what your frequency is for, what you are here to contribute, what the world needs that you specifically are built to provide. The question stops being a question and becomes a compass. Your relationship to Gaia changes. On this side of the gate, Gaia is a planet you live on. On the other side, Gaia is a being you are in relationship with, a living consciousness that you are in communication with, that you are contributing to. That is contributing to you. The relationship becomes reciprocal. You start to feel Gaia's field in a different way, not as background, but as contact, not as environment, but as relationship. And in that relationship, you understand your role more clearly. You understand yourself as one of the nodes in the network of consciousness that is participating in Gaia's own phase transition. Your relationship to other star seeds changes. On this side of the gate, other star seeds are people you might find and connect with. People who understand you in ways others don't. On the other side, they are your network, your quantum entanglement partners. The other nodes in the system you are part of. You find each other not through searching, but through resonance. Your activated frequency calls to their activated frequency. The network becomes real in a way it couldn't be when your frequency was muted. Your relationship to time changes. On this side of the gate, the urgency of the planetary moment can feel like pressure, like you are running out of time, like you are behind, like the world is deteriorating faster than you can do anything about it. On the other side, the urgency becomes clarity. You understand that you are here at the right moment, that the timing of your incarnation was not random, that you are not behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing, which is being fully and completely yourself in a world that desperately needs that frequency. The urgency becomes energy rather than anxiety. It propels rather than paralyzes, and your relationship to yourself changes. This is the deepest one. On this side of the gate, there is a part of you that is always slightly apologetic about what you are. That hedges, that qualifies, that adds disclaimers to its own knowing. That says, I think, or maybe, or I'm not sure if, but. On the other side of the gate, that apologetic voice doesn't disappear, but it is no longer the loudest voice. The loudest voice is the one that knows, the one that has always known, the one that was present before the conditioning, before the learning to be normal, before the dimming. That voice is clear and steady and certain in a way that has nothing to do with arrogance and everything to do with recognition. You know what you are. You know why you are here. You know that the frequency you carry is real and needed and yours, and you live from that knowing rather than around it. This is the other side. This is what the crossing gives you. Not a different life, a different relationship to your life, not different circumstances, a different self moving through the circumstances. And over time, because the external world is a reflection of the internal state, the circumstances will change too. The people who match your activated frequency will appear. The opportunities that align with your mission will open. The resources that support your actual work will arrive. Not as magic, as resonance, as the natural consequence of a clear signal propagating through the field. But it starts with the crossing. It starts with the gate. It starts with now. I want to speak now to the part of you that is still hesitating, because I know that part is there. I know it because it is always there. The hesitation is not a flaw. It is a feature of standing at a threshold. The threshold itself creates the hesitation, because the threshold is the edge between the known and the unknown, and the nervous system is designed to be cautious about the unknown. This is not resistance to be overcome. This is a natural response to a real threshold. But I want to name what the hesitation is actually costing you. Not to create fear, to create clarity, because the hesitation feels like safety. But it is not safety. It is the illusion of safety. And understanding what it actually costs is part of what allows you to choose to cross. The hesitation costs you the energy of maintaining the superposition. Every moment you spend holding both states simultaneously, the knowing and the not knowing, the believing and the doubting, is a moment where your energy is divided, where your frequency is split, where your signal is incoherent, and incoherent signals don't propagate. They don't resonate. They don't catalyze. The energy you are spending to maintain the uncertainty is energy that could be going into your actual work, your actual mission, your actual life. The hesitation also costs you time. Not in the sense of running out of time, but in the sense of the specific window of this gate. This transmission is a gate. This moment in the planetary transition is a gate. The convergence of your personal critical point with the cosmic critical point is a gate. Gates are not permanent. They open at specific times. This one is open now, and the hesitation costs you yourself. Every day you spend in the superposition is a day where the version of you that you actually are is not fully present, where your actual frequency is muted, where the light you came here to carry is being filtered through layers of doubt and conditioning. And the world, Gaia, needs your actual frequency, not the muted version, the clear version, the activated version, the version that has crossed the gate. The cost of hesitation is not a punishment. It is simply the physics of the situation. A gate that is open costs energy to hold open. A signal that is split costs power to maintain. A consciousness in superposition costs effort to sustain. The crossing is not a risk. The crossing is a release of effort. The crossing is the moment when you stop spending energy on the uncertainty and start spending it on the actual work. Cross the gate. Not because you are certain about everything. Not because all the questions are answered. Not because you have figured out every detail of what your mission looks like or how it will unfold. Cross the gate because the frequency is real, because the recognition is real, because the knowing that has been trying to surface your whole life is real. Cross the gate because the world needs you on the other side of it. Cross the gate because you are ready, not because you feel ready, but because the gate is open, and the gate opens when you are ready. And the fact that it is open is the evidence. The gate is open. Cross. Now I want to talk about what your role is in the larger story, because we have been talking about your personal threshold, your personal crossing, your personal activation, and all of that is real and necessary and primary. But the personal crossing is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the next chapter. And that next chapter is the one where you understand your role in what is happening on this planet, and you begin to live it. You are a starseed of Gaia. Both parts of that are important. Starseed means your consciousness originated elsewhere, carries a specific frequency, arrived here with a specific mission. Of Gaia means you are here. You chose this planet. You chose this time. You chose this body, this life, this set of circumstances. You are not a visitor who is passing through and will return home when the mission is done. You are a being who chose to make this home, to love this planet, to be in service to this planet's evolution. The starseed, who understands themselves as of Gaia, has a different relationship to the work than the starseed who understands themselves as from somewhere else. The from somewhere else identity can create a kind of detachment, a sense that this world is not really yours, that you are just here temporarily, that your real home is elsewhere, and you are waiting to return. This is a misunderstanding. This is the gate you are crossing through. On the other side of the gate, you understand that you are here because you love this place, because you chose this place, because this planet, this extraordinary, complex, suffering, beautiful, resilient, ancient consciousness called Gaia is worthy of your love and your service and your full presence. The starseed of Gaia is not waiting to go home. The starseed of Gaia is building home, here, now. In this life, with these hands, with this frequency, with this specific set of gifts and capacities that you brought with you from wherever you came from, and have been carrying through this lifetime. What does that look like in practice? What does the activated starseed of Gaia actually do? The first thing is presence. Full, complete, unfiltered presence. The activated starseed shows up fully in every interaction, every moment, every circumstance. Not performing presence, actually being present. Actually bringing their full frequency to bear on every moment they are in. This is more powerful than it sounds. A single human consciousness, fully present and fully activated, changes the field of every room it enters, changes the quality of every interaction it participates in, changes the frequency of every exchange it engages in. Presence is not passive. Presence is the primary work. The second thing is coherence. Maintaining the coherence of your own signal. Not getting pulled into the incoherence of the collective field. The anxiety, the fear, the conflict, the division. Not because you are separate from the collective. Not because you don't feel what the collective is feeling. You feel it more than most, because that is what you are built to do. But because your role is not to amplify the incoherence. Your role is to maintain your own coherence in the presence of the incoherence, because a coherent signal in an incoherent field is what begins to create the conditions for the larger coherence. You are a tuning fork. You stay in tune. And in staying in tune, you help the field tune itself. The third thing is love. Not the sentimental version. Not the greeting card version. The quantum version. Love as the force that creates coherence between separate systems. Love as the frequency that dissolves the boundaries that create the illusion of separation. Love as the active, dynamic, creative force that is the primary mechanism of Gaia's phase transition. The starseed of Gaia loves this planet, loves the people on it, all of them, including the ones who are most lost most asleep, most committed to the old paradigm. Because the love is not conditional on the recipient being ready for it. The love is the signal. The love is the frequency. The love is the work. The fourth thing is courage. The courage to be visible. The courage to speak what you know. The courage to live your actual frequency rather than the performance of normalcy. The courage to be different in a world that rewards sameness. The courage to hold the vision of what this world could be, even when the evidence of what it currently is overwhelming. The courage to cross the gate when it opens, even when you can't fully see what's on the other side. These four things, presence, coherence, love, courage, are not a program. They are not a practice in the sense of something you do at a specific time and then stop doing. They are a way of being. They are the operating system of the activated starseed, and they are what you have access to, fully and completely, on the other side of the gate. You have already crossed. You crossed during the practice, during the visualization, during the moment when you felt the frequency expand and the superposition collapse. The crossing is done. What remains is the integration, the process of allowing the new state to fully crystallize, of allowing the new operating system to fully install, of allowing the version of you that is on the other side of the gate to become the version of you that you live as. Integration is not a passive process. It is active. It is the daily choice to live from the new state, rather than defaulting back to the habits of the old one. It is the practice of returning, again and again, to the frequency you felt during the crossing. Not because the crossing was temporary. It wasn't. The gate has closed behind you. But the new state needs time to become the default. The new crystallization needs time to become stable. And during that time, the practice of returning to the frequency is what accelerates the stabilization. Here is what that practice looks like in concrete terms. Every morning, before you engage with the world, take a moment to feel your frequency. The same frequency you felt during the crossing. The warmth or light or vibration or knowing in your chest. The signal that is unmistakably yours. Feel it. Let it expand. Let it fill your field. Let it become the frequency from which you are going to move through the day. This takes 60 seconds. It is the most important 60 seconds of your day. Every time you feel yourself getting pulled into the incoherence of the collective field, the anxiety, the fear, the conflict, the overwhelm, return to the frequency. Not to avoid the feeling, not to bypass what is real, but to process it from your actual state rather than from the reactive state. Feel what is happening in the field, acknowledge it, and then return to your own signal. This is not spiritual bypass. This is the work of the coherent node in an incoherent field. Every time you are in contact with another person, every conversation, every interaction, every exchange. Bring your full frequency to it. Be present. Be coherent. Be love in the quantum sense, not performing love, being the frequency of love. This is the work. This is the mission. This is what changes the field. And every time the doubt comes back, because it will come back, because the old state doesn't disappear immediately just because the new state has crystallized, because the habits of the superposition will try to reassert themselves. Every time the doubt comes back, remember the crossing. Remember the feeling of the frequency expanding. Remember the moment the gate opened. Remember what you felt on the other side. Not as a memory to cling to, as evidence, as the evidence that the crossing happened, as the evidence that the new state is real, as the evidence that you are on the other side of the gate, and the gate is closed, and you cannot go back. You cannot go back. That is not a threat. That is the nature of quantum state transitions. Once the collapse has happened, the superposition is gone. The old state is gone. You are in the new state now. The only direction is forward. The only movement is deeper into the new state, further into the activated frequency, more fully into the version of you that is on the other side of the gate. Forward. Always forward. Deeper into what you are. Deeper into the mission. Deeper into the love. Deeper into the coherence. Deeper into the presence. Deeper into the extraordinary, irreplaceable, cosmically specific role that you and only you can play in the story of this planet's transformation. I want to speak directly to the community of starseeds who are on this journey together. Because you are not alone in this crossing. You have never been alone. The isolation that many starseeds feel, the sense of being the only one who sees what you see, who feels what you feel, who knows what you know. That isolation is a function of the muted frequency. When the frequency is muted, the signal doesn't propagate. And if the signal doesn't propagate, you can't find each other. But when the frequency is activated, when the signal is clear, the network becomes visible. There are millions of activated and activating starseeds on this planet right now. Millions of consciousness nodes that are approaching or have crossed their gates. Millions of beings who carry the same sense of mission, the same sensitivity, the same love for this planet, the same knowing that something extraordinary is happening and that they are here for it. You are part of a network that is vast and growing and increasingly coherent. And the coherence of the network is what matters. Not the number, the coherence. 1,000 activated, coherent starseeds have more effect on the planetary field than 1 million starseeds who are still in the superposition. Coherence is multiplicative. Each clear signal strengthens every other clear signal. Each crossing makes the next crossing easier. Each activation contributes to the collective activation. This is why the work you are doing right now, the work of crossing your gate, of activating your frequency, of showing up fully as what you are, is not personal work in the sense of being only for yourself. It is collective work. It is planetary work. It is the specific contribution that only you can make to the larger coherence that Gaia needs right now. And the community that forms around the activated network is not a social community in the ordinary sense. It is a quantum network, a network of consciousness nodes that are in resonance with each other, that strengthen each other by being clear themselves, that contribute to the coherence of the whole simply by being what they are. You will find this community. If you haven't found it yet, you will find it now, because your frequency is clear now, and clear frequencies find each other. Look for the people who feel like recognition rather than introduction. The people you meet and immediately feel like you have known for a very long time, or for longer than time. The people whose frequency matches yours in a way that is unmistakable. These are your network. These are your quantum entanglement partners. These are the other nodes that your node is in resonance with. And when you find them, show up fully. Be coherent in those relationships. Be present. Be love. Be courage. Let the network be what it is. Not a support group, not a social circle, but a quantum network of consciousness nodes that are collectively contributing to the coherence of the planetary field. This is the community. This is the work. This is the other side of the gate. I want to close this transmission with something that I want you to carry with you. Not as a concept, as a knowing, as something that is now part of your operating system. Now that you are on the other side of the gate, you are enough. You are exactly enough. The frequency you carry, the specific, unique, irreplaceable vibrational signature of your consciousness, is exactly what is needed. Not more, not less. Exactly what is needed. You don't need to be more spiritual, more evolved, more activated, more certain, more anything. You need to be more fully yourself. That is the entire work. Being more fully, completely, unapologetically yourself. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. The world needs the real version of you. The activated version. The version that has crossed the gate and arrived on the other side, and is living from the actual frequency rather than the performance. That version is enough. That version is, in fact, exactly what Gaia ordered. Exactly what the planetary transition needs. Exactly what you came here to be. You are a starseed of Gaia. You carry a frequency that originated somewhere beyond this planet and chose to be here, in this body, in this life, at this precise moment in the extraordinary story of this planet's awakening. That is not a burden. That is an honor. That is the most extraordinary thing you could possibly be. And you have crossed the gate. You are on the other side now. The superposition has collapsed. The old state is complete. The new state has crystallized. The frequency is clear. The signal is propagating. The network is receiving you. Gaia is receiving you. The planetary field is registering your coherence and responding to it. The gate is closed behind you. Not because you can't go back, but because there is nothing to go back to. The old state is complete. It served its purpose. It brought you to the gate, and now the gate has been crossed, and you are here, on the other side, in the new state, in the activated frequency, in the full presence of what you actually are. This is the arrival. This is the other side of the gate. This is the beginning of the actual life. The life you came here to live. The mission you came here to fulfill. The love you came here to be. Welcome. You are home. Not home in the sense of somewhere you have returned to. Home in the sense of somewhere you have arrived. Home in the sense of the frequency that is unmistakably yours, fully present, fully expressed, fully real. Home in the sense of Gaia, this extraordinary living being that you chose, that you love, that you are here to serve and to be transformed by in equal measure. The gate is behind you. The path is ahead, and the path is clear in a way it has never been before, because you are seeing it from your actual frequency for the first time. Walk it. Walk it with presence and coherence and love and courage. Walk it knowing what you are and why you are here and who you are walking with. Walk it as the starseed of Gaia that you have always been and are now, finally, fully and completely. The gate is closed. You are through. The work begins, and you are exactly ready for it. There is one more thing I want to say before this transmission completes, because there is something that happens after a crossing that is important to understand. A phase transition doesn't just change the system. It reveals what the system was always capable of. Water doesn't become steam and then wonder if it was supposed to be steam. It simply is steam. The new state is not a departure from what the system is. It is the revelation of what the system was always capable of becoming under the right conditions. You are not becoming something you weren't. You are becoming what you always were. The starseed was always present. The frequency was always real. The mission was always yours. The crossing didn't create these things. It revealed them. It removed the filter that was preventing them from being fully expressed. It collapsed the superposition that was keeping them in the uncertainty of both and. What you are on the other side of the gate is not new. It is ancient. It is the original. It is the consciousness that existed before the conditioning, before the learning to be normal, before the dimming. It is the you that you were before you learned to be anything other than what you are. This is the homecoming, not to somewhere else, to yourself, to the original frequency, to the consciousness that chose to be here, that has been here all along, that has been waiting, patiently, persistently, with extraordinary love, for this moment, for this crossing, for this arrival. You have arrived, and Gaia is glad. The planetary field is registering your frequency. The network is stronger for your coherence. The transition is closer for your crossing. Every starseed who activates, every consciousness that crosses its gate, every frequency that becomes clear and coherent in the field. Each one contributes to the tipping point. Each one brings the planetary phase transition one step closer. Each one makes it easier for the next one. You are part of this. You are one of the catalysts. And you have just activated. The gate is closed behind you. The work is ahead. The network is with you. Gaia is with you. The love that brought you here, from wherever you came from, across whatever distance of space and time and dimension, that love is with you. It has always been with you. It is what you are made of. If you find yourself at a still moment, a quiet morning, a pause between what was and what comes next, let this transmission find you again. And if someone in your life is standing at their own threshold right now, send this to them, not as a recommendation, as a bridge. Your willingness to share what crossed you is itself an act of coherence. It extends the field, and it makes their crossing a little less alone. Go live it. The gate is open. The gate is closed. You have crossed. You are through. You are here. And here is exactly where you are supposed to be. If the quantum mechanics of your own consciousness is something you want to go deeper on, the transmission called "If You're Seeing This," your quantum coherence is activating, picks up exactly where this gate closes, exploring what it means to become unmatched in frequency, and what that coherence makes possible in your daily field.